The first time I saw her, she was curled up in the corner of a dimly lit medical bay aboard the starship Aurora's Edge, trembling and whispering to herself. Her hair was silver, almost luminescent under the sterile lights, and her eyes flickered with a frantic intelligence that made me uneasy. I wasn't meant to notice her, not really. My job aboard this ship was simple. Deliver the experimental neuroadaptive drug to its intended test subject, ensure its activation, and report back to the research facility. I'd been trained for years for this, and yet, something about her made me hesitate. "Don't come near me," she hissed, her voice thin but sharp. "You're going to kill me." I froze. Not because I was afraid. Fear was a luxury I didn't have, but because I recognized that tone, the precise mixture of terror and defiance. I'd heard it before, years ago, in someone I had saved under very different circumstances. "You're not supposed to be here," I said carefully, keeping my hands visible. "This isn't your test. You weren't chosen." She blinked at me, the color in her cheeks returning slightly, the quiver in her hands slowing. "Chosen?" she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. "Do you even know what this is?" I did. I knew exactly what it was. The drug, codenamed Vera 9, was a neuroadaptive serum designed to rewrite the synaptic pathways of a human brain. It could amplify intelligence, reshape perception, even grant the illusion of multiple lifetimes of experience in a single consciousness. But it was dangerous. Only specific genetic markers allowed the human brain to withstand the process. Anyone else risked irreversible psychosis or death. "You weren't meant for this," I said. "The drug isn't for you. It's for someone else." Her laugh was hollow, brittle, and full of disbelief. "I've been waiting for this my entire life. I've tracked the facility, deciphered the codes, and followed the shipment across 3 systems. You think I'm going to step aside now?" I sighed. She was determined, obsessively so, and I knew reasoning with her wouldn't work. The protocols were clear: stop her from ingesting the drug at all costs. But as I moved closer, she lunged at the medical console and ripped the vial from its containment. "No!" I shouted, diving for it, but she was faster. In a single fluid motion, she injected the contents directly into her arm. The glow of the liquid beneath her skin spread almost instantly, a soft pulsating blue that illuminated the contours of her face. I could see her pupils dilate unnaturally, the tiny muscles around her jaw clenching as the neuroadaptive serum began its work. At first, it seemed as though she was fine. She straightened, her trembling subsiding. Then the twitching began, small spasms, almost imperceptible. Her eyes widened in terror as the spasms intensified, her body writhing as the drug coursed through her synapses in ways it was never meant to. "It's too much," she whispered, voice breaking. "It's not what I wanted." I tried to restrain her, but it was already too late. The serum had recognized that her neural structure didn't match the profile for safe adaptation. Instead of enhancing her cognition, it tore through her neural pathways, creating fractured, looping thought patterns. She was conscious, but trapped inside a prison of her own mind. For hours, I watched helplessly. There was no saving her, not in the conventional sense. The research protocols didn't account for failure at this magnitude. The Vera 9 serum was supposed to be precise, elegant, transformative. What I had witnessed was grotesque. Her screams were quiet, more a series of fragmented syllables than coherent words. Her hands clawed at her head, nails raking across her temples as if she could scratch the drug out of her brain. She gasped. "I thought I could control it." "You can't," I said softly, though I doubted she could comprehend me. "It wasn't meant for you. No one expected it to be perfect outside the test parameters." And yet, even as she writhed, her eyes darted toward me. There was a flicker of recognition, a spark that told me she understood, too late, that this had been my warning, my responsibility to prevent, and now it was beyond both of us. The ship's automated systems detected the anomaly and locked down the medical bay, cutting off all external access. I had to act quickly. I retrieved the antidote vial from the containment locker, a slim, silver cylinder that promised either salvation or failure. But the antidote wasn't a cure. It could only slow the progression, suppress the psychotic loops, stabilize her enough for transport, but it wouldn't reverse the damage already done. I injected her carefully, whispering reassurances she probably couldn't hear. Slowly, the spasms diminished. Her eyes still darted erratically, and her lips moved in silent, incoherent sentences. She was alive, but fragile. A mind in ruins held together by chemistry and desperate hope. I secured her in a stasis chamber designed for emergency neurological patients, then accessed the ship's encrypted comms to call the research facility. The voice on the other end was calm, clinical, almost unnervingly detached. "Subject deviation detected?" the operator asked. "Explain." "She injected herself with Vera 9, I said. She wasn't the test subject. She doesn't match the neural parameters. We need immediate intervention." A pause then. "Understood. Prepare for containment retrieval. Do not attempt further administration without authorization." I felt my stomach knot. Containment retrieval meant the facility would send a specialized retrieval team to secure her. In their hands, she might survive, but they would likely erase any memory of this incident, suppress any trace of her consciousness that had diverged from the test protocol. In other words, the woman who had risked everything to gain knowledge and power might never exist as herself again. I paced the bay, my mind racing. She had sought this moment for years, and in a single act of desperation, she had shattered everything she hoped to achieve. Her ambition, her intellect, her drive, they had collided with forces she couldn't comprehend. And now, all I could do was wait. Hours passed. The glow of the stasis chamber dimmed under the fluorescent lights. I found myself speaking to her, even though I knew she could not respond. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. "I tried to warn you. I tried to stop you. But you had to make the choice." Her lips twitched, almost imperceptibly. It wasn't a smile, not really, but there was acknowledgement there, a fleeting, human acknowledgement that she understood the inevitability of her fate. When the retrieval team arrived, they moved with cold precision. I handed over the stasis chamber, providing a detailed report. They nodded, almost sympathetically, but their faces remained impassive. As the team prepared to leave, one of the operators glanced at me. "You understand the consequences of what she did?" "I do," I said. "I'll take full responsibility for any procedural fallout." He nodded and signaled the transport. The chamber lifted silently, disappearing into the ship's cargo bay. And just like that, she was gone, whisked away into a system designed to erase the chaos she had wrought, leaving only the faintest echo of her ambition behind. I stayed behind in the medical bay long after they left, staring at the empty floor where she had fought, screamed, and ultimately failed. Her determination haunted me. Part of me respected it, even admired it. She had sought transcendence at all costs, but the cost had been catastrophic. In the quiet, I replayed the incident over and over in my mind. I remembered her words, her defiance, the glimmer of hope that shone in her eyes before the drug consumed her. And I understood, with a cold clarity, the terrible weight of human ambition when it collides with forces beyond comprehension. She had been brilliant, reckless, fearless, and she had learned, far too late, that not all paths to power are meant to be walked by everyone. Some roads are closed, hidden behind layers of science and consequence, for reasons that even the most determined cannot challenge. As I prepared the ship for departure, I made a vow to myself. I would continue my work, ensure that no one else repeated her mistakes. I would guard the serum, protect the parameters, enforce the rules that had been ignored this time. And somewhere, deep in the recesses of my mind, I would carry her memory, the memory of a woman who had reached for the stars, only to find that the universe was not hers to command. In the end, the lesson was simple and brutal. Ambition without comprehension is destruction. Curiosity without caution is death. And desire without eligibility is a road paved with irreversible consequences. As the Aurora's edge engaged its warp drive and streaked across the void, I glanced once more at the empty medical bay. She was gone, her fate sealed, and yet her warning lingered. The universe has a way of reminding you, always, that some doors are never meant to open. And when they do, sometimes it's too late to step back. And somewhere, in a lab far beyond our sector, a retrieval team would study her mind, patch the broken pathways, and attempt to salvage what remained. But the truth was undeniable. She had overstepped the boundaries of human limitation, and the consequences would ripple through the corridors of science for decades to come. I exhaled, letting the silence of space fill the void where her voice had been. In my heart, I knew the reality she had faced. Some experiments are not meant for the brave, only for the chosen. And she had realized that too late. The Aurora's edge coasted silently through the void, its lights dimmed to conserve power, leaving the medical bay in shadow. The stasis chamber where she had been was empty now, taken by the retrieval team. And yet, in the quiet, I could still feel her presence, the weight of her ambition, her brilliance, and her fatal mistake. I leaned against the wall, my fingers tracing the edge of the console she had clutched, and thought about what had happened. She had wanted power, knowledge, transcendence, but she had ignored the rules, the limits, and the warnings. In a single act of desperation, she had transformed herself from a seeker of greatness into a victim of consequence. A soft chime signaled an incoming message from the research facility. Containment retrieval complete. The message read, "Subject is stable for transport. Neurological status. Critical but survivable with intervention. No procedural anomalies noted." I stared at the words. Stable but not whole. Survivable, but forever changed. Her mind, her essence, would be rewritten, reshaped to fit a protocol she had defied. Somewhere in the sterile halls of that distant lab, she would live, but she would not be the woman who had risked everything. I exhaled slowly, letting the weight of it settle. Part of me wanted to mourn her, to rage against the cruelty of fate. But another part, quieter and steadier, understood the lesson she had left behind. Curiosity without caution, ambition without eligibility. These were paths that ended in ruin, no matter how brilliant the mind that walked them. I powered down the stasis chamber and left the medical bay. The hum of the ship was comforting now, a reminder that life continued, that missions had to be completed, that the universe waited for no one. And yet, as I walked the quiet corridors, I carried her memory with me, the echo of her defiance, the shadow of her brilliance, and the stark warning that some doors are never meant to open. In the end, the drug had not failed her entirely. It had revealed the truth. Some powers, some knowledge, some transcendences are not gifts. They are tests. And she had learned, too late, that the universe is not generous with mistakes. I paused on the observation deck, staring into the infinite expanse of stars. Somewhere out there, she existed still, a mind trapped between brilliance and consequence, a life rewritten by choices she had made. I felt the sting of sorrow. Yes, but also clarity. I would guard the knowledge we wielded, protect the limits we understood, and never forget her lesson, that the pursuit of power without preparation is a path that leads only to regret. The Aurora's edge jumped to warp, stars stretching into lines of light as we surged toward our next destination. And in the quiet between the Engine's hums and the endless void, I whispered, almost to myself, "She realized too late, and now the universe remembers." And with that, the story of her ambition, her defiance, and her fatal mistake became another cautionary tale, one I would carry forever.